a lot of people kind of struggled with this. And it's not that one. It's the object and object complement one. Some people didn't, but some people did. And I just want to go over using the formula that we use for trying to find direct objects and indirect objects. Okay? How you do that. And object complements and object of prepositions, right? And let's just kind of go over some of these that you struggled with. If someone could give me a sentence, I'm going to take this down. If someone could give me a sentence of maybe something that you struggled with. Give me one of the numbers. Ariam.
It's not the number, but like for the object complements one, I didn't know how to like do the object complement or if there's an indirect object.
Okay, so give me the sentence and let's put it up here. It's long, I know, right?
Well, I don't know. I just say it wasn't a specific number.
In general, you don't?
Yeah.
Okay. So, can I look for a minute? Actually, if I go get my practice book, I can. So it's the very bottom section. Yeah, you know what? A lot of people had trouble with that section. So let's look at that very bottom section. Because I would say that is the section that most people had trouble with. And I'll just use my book rather than looking on someone else's. All right, so, you were saying between indirect objects and object complements?
Yeah, but mostly object complements because indirect objects are easier.
Okay, so actually, let's look at page 8. Let's look at page 8. And let's look at just number 1 on page 8. Says, many art historians consider Georgia O'Keeffe a minimalist.
Object complement.
This is practice book page 8, number 1. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So really, it's kind of, I would say you have to do like a process of elimination almost. Like you kind of have to go, if you really want, when it gets down to like something like this, where you can choose any of the 4, you just have to say what the italicized word is. It's kind of like a process of elimination is what I would do. So you think of all the formulas, okay? So what's the formula for finding a direct object?
Subject.
Noun or subject plus verb,
Action verb.
plus to who or what,
Who or what?
and then
And that equals your direct object, right?
yeah.
So that's like the first thing that I would do is go through this, because if you go through this and you can't find a direct object, what's the only option that the word can be?
Object of preposition.
It can only be an object of a preposition. So then you kind of double check yourself and say, okay, is there a preposition in here? Does it end the prepositional phrase? Just to double check yourself. Because if you can't find a direct object, that's gonna be your only option. I'm gonna write this over here. Or actually, Nathan, would you write that sentence on the board that I just wrote? It's the first one on page B. Put it right up there. Okay. So let's try this. What is the subject of this sentence? Many art historians consider Georgia Keefe a minimalist. Bethel.
Historian.
Okay, that's who we're talking about. We're talking about the historians.
The historian.
That's the subject of the sentence. Then we have to find the verb, and we have to see if it's an action verb. What's the verb in this sentence?
Consider?
Consider. Is it action?
Yeah.
It is, okay? So that's our verb. So now we're going to see if there is a direct object. So historians consider who or what?
Georgia.
They're considering Georgia O'Keeffe. So you do have a who or what without putting any other words in between, like you don't put to or for or who or anything. Historians consider who? Georgia O'Keeffe. All right, so now we have a direct object. So now we say, oh, now it can be, it's not an object of a, well, it's still, you still could have an object of a preposition. But now let's see if it has an indirect object. So what's the formula for an indirect object? Ariam?
Subject plus action verb, and then to who, and to what, and for whatever, all that stuff.
So we have to find the direct object,
Yeah, but
basically.
you said it goes before that.
Okay, and then we say, but we still have to find the direct object before we figure that out. But this, Ariam is right, this is going to come here. This to whom or for whom is going to come between the verb and the direct object in order for it to be an indirect object.
Historian.
No, I can take that.
You're good? All right.
Which one's the subject?
Historians.
Yes, good job. Historians is the subject. Now what's the verb? What are the
Consider.
There you go.
You're literally.
They consider.
Now, what's the direct
It's
object?
an action verb. Teacher Nathan considers an action verb.
George.
Okay.
The direct object.
You're not father.
Okay, so now
Told you this.
let me ask you this. Historians consider Georgia O'Keeffe what?
A minimalist.
A minimalist. Okay, good. But are Georgia O'Keeffe and minimalist the same thing?
No. Oh, wait, yeah.
Not in between.
They are. Okay, so first of all, let's just say this. Yeah. Is, when you say they consider, so I'm not just saying to whom or for whom or to what it should be or what. Okay, let me just say, let's go back. I'm sorry. Let's back up. Historians consider Georgia O'Keeffe to whom? If I say to whom or to what, is there an answer there? No, there's not. So, Ariam, there isn't an indirect object because there isn't anything that answers to whom or what or for whom or what. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, if I just say, if I do this, subject plus action verb plus direct object, and then I ask the question what, that's going to be my object complement. So now, if I say historians consider Georgia O'Keeffe what, what's your answer?
Minimalist.
Now, minimalist is this the same thing?
Yeah.
That is an object complement.
Okay, look
You've
at
asked, so this is the formula for an object complement.
What is up?
It's kind of the same as a subject complement, only the subject complement is renaming the subject.
So,
An object complement is renaming the object.
who thought this was a good idea to just make all of this?
I know. Thank you.
Was this Eric?
Why
Who
did you
created all of this?
Yeah.
Like we learned English.
Care what a direct object is,
I
just
don't
say it right,
Okay.
like,
You know, we don't want to make a
Just
sentence.
learn English and say, ooh,
Because
we're good.
it helps make writing clear. It helps you understand it. You guys have all seen like the sentences that it can be taken this way or that, you know, like
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of one right now, but
The murder one. There's like
the grandma eating grandma, right? Something like that.
Isn't that? Isn't that hard writing that?
What?
So if you want to find a direct, so you found the direct object.
Oh my God.
Nathan.
So
You want to
disgusting.
find the
I don't want it.
It's super cool, right?
historians consider
No.
subject keep
No. How'd you do that?
for whom? Is there an answer?
Oh my God.
So can't have indirect object. Formula for subject complement for object complement
It was so cool.
A blood? What?
A book.
Okay.
It was called in came out.
So
Big, just
historians consider
Really?
It was pretty cool.
a minimalist.
I think it's really good. I think it's really good. I would have kept it. It was really cool.
It's the same person, so that's an object complement. A subject complement renames the subject, and an object complement.
I need tape. Do you think I could ask her for tape?
No.
Thank you, Nathan. Okay?
that, Lucas? Okay.
Okay. Does that help a little bit?
Object complement.
Ariam, does that help a little bit?
Subject
Yeah.
complement.
Let's look at number 4. Marisol?
Do you have like a piece of tape I could borrow?
See, look at that.
Not right now. Shh. Let's look at number 4 on the sheet.
Subject complement.
It says, she later made Tao, Mexico.
What? Oh, number 4.
Oh.
Ow.
Ouch. Ow. I felt so
You gonna do
great.
that class? Are we gonna do 4?
Yes, right, number 4.
You don't want that.
All right, so tell me what you would do first, Logan. What would you do first?
She is the subject.
Okay, she is the subject.
You're the subject.
Made is the verb.
Made is the verb. Is it action? Okay, it's action.
And
Wendy.
she made what?
I'll take a one.
She made
Like Wendy.
Mexico.
Wendy from Gravity Falls.
And we'll say Tao, Mexico. So what is this?
That's a direct object.
Direct object.
I'm pretty sure God did good.
And
Let's check to see if it has an indirect object first.
And to whom? To whom is Mexico? Mexico is her summer home.
Nope.
No.
There's no answer to whom or for whom, right? That comes in between made and the direct object. Okay, so there's no indirect object.
And there's no object or preposition.
Ooh, how do you write this so fast?
So
It's a teacher skill. I don't know.
So let's go on to the next one.
it's
Let's try this. She made Tao, Mexico what?
her summer home.
Her summer home. So
Ah.
is home and now let's double check ourselves. Are home and Tao, Mexico the same thing? Are we
Yeah.
talking about the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is renaming the direct object. So this is an object complement.
Wow. Okay.
Okay? So if you go through those steps, at number 11. She gave her admirers She gave her admirers new perspectives of nature.
Maybe.
And now she can't wait.
Oh my gosh. It's funny. It's funny.
Joey.
So you guys, did you get the number 4?
Yeah, I remember 4.
And you figured out why it was an object complement?
Who knows?
Nathan, right now.
Like, you guys can watch here too, right?
I'm watching that one.
What about yeah.
Okay, so Jameson,
Yep.
tell me what you do on this one.
She is the subject.
Okay.
Gave is the action verb. Perspectives is the direct object.
What is?
Perspective.
Perspectives. She gave what? She gave perspective. So this is your direct object.
Perspectives.
Admires is the indirect object.
To whom? To admirers. Is admirers in between verb and direct object? It sure is. So this now is an indirect object. Okay, so you don't have to go, if that's the italicized word, you do not have to go any further once you find it. Okay? All right. So is that good?
Yes.
So really, truly, 8th graders, use the formulas. It's kind of just like math, right? So
I don't think we're doing too well in math.
use those steps to rule out different things that it can be. Okay? Okay? Do you guys need me to go through this one?
Sorry, I have water.
Yeah. Take your river crack somewhere else. Sam, if the water I'm drinking is from the lake from over there, I don't know.
Lessons, the indirect object.
Okay.
You can't say you're wrong.
All right. Great. Now we're going to go on to the new topic in your Voyages book.
Me. That's your
Turn to page 10 in your Voyages book. Page 10 in your Voyages book. So 8th graders, this is what it's looking like. This is what things are looking like. Today, we're going to talk about positives. Tomorrow, this is the hope. Tomorrow, we're going to do lesson 1.6 on possessive nouns. That's the end of the unit. So Wednesday, we're going to work on the review. Next Monday, we will correct the review and do any review for it. And then next Tuesday will be the test, grammar test on this unit, okay? That's the plan.
Do we have school on Monday?
Yes, okay, so page 10. We are talking about positives. Sit down now, Nathan. Page 10 is a positives. Okay, so on page 10 it says, in a positive is a word that follows a noun and helps identify it. In a positive names the same person, place, thing, or idea as the noun it explains. In a positive phrase is in a positive and its modifiers. So this is the one where I like to use my kids, because you guys still know who my kids kids are. I won't be able to do this in a couple of years. Well, I guess I still can. But I have 3 daughters. I have 1 son. Okay? So, if I was going to use in a positive, okay, I might say, so I don't have to talk about my 3 daughters when it's done yet. I could say, my daughter Alex, oops, I'm going to take those out, attends Concordia University. Okay? Alex.
Is Concordia in Concord? Sorry. Sorry, throw it out.
My daughter Alex.
This is a little male appropriate. Ah.
Okay. So, it says, in a positive is a word that follows a noun and helps identify it. So a noun is a person, place, or thing. My daughter is a noun, right?
Yeah.
Alex, does Alex help identify daughter?
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes right after the noun it's identifying. This is in a positive.
Wait, so since it's not set up by commas, it's
This one is not.
so it's restricted.
Okay, we're not there yet, Ariam. You're ahead of us. Okay. If I said, my daughter, a senior in college, attends Concordia University. Okay, is this a noun?
Yeah.
Does this phrase, a senior in college, identify daughter? Yes. This, because it's not just one word, is in a positive phrase. This is in a positive, comes right after the noun. It identifies, that's in a positive. This is in a positive phrase. It's a whole group of words that's identifying daughter. What is the appositive in this phrase, a senior in college? Senior. This is the main noun that's identifying this noun. So an appositive is a noun.
And then in college be the modifier or whatever?
That's a prepositional phrase, right? In college. But it's part of the positive phrase. So this identifies daughter. Alex identifies daughter. That's an appositive. It's coming right after the noun it identifies. If I said my daughter a senior in college, Alex is the appositive. Daughter is the noun it's identifying. Okay?
Or not. Maybe I can put you to that. You can believe it or not, but it's fine. Maybe because I'm made it look better than life. This is a stupid
Now, okay, this is still identifying daughter. This isn't a positive phrase because it's a group of words. This is the questions with that? Okay, so also on page 10, it says, in the first sentence below, writer is the appositive in the appositive phrase, a 19th century writer that explains the noun Louisa May Alcott. So let's look at the sentence underneath all of the highlighting. It says Louisa May Alcott, a 19th century writer, produced many novels. So it's the same thing. The appositive phrase, a 19th century writer, helps identify Louisa May Alcott. It's telling you about her, right? Giving you information. The writer is like the main noun in that phrase, so that's the appositive. And a 19th century writer is an appositive phrase. Okay, it says, so any questions about that? It's the same thing that we did here. Okay? Then it says the appositive is set off by commas because it is non-restrictive. That means you don't have to have it in the sentence to have the sentence make sense. Okay, or to know, I shouldn't say to have it make sense. I should say to know who you're talking about, okay? Like here, my daughter attends Concordia University. You really don't need this to know who I'm talking about. I'm going to say this instead. Alex. Okay? Now you know who I'm talking about. First, so you really don't need this, so we call that non-restrictive. You don't need it to know who I'm talking about. Okay? So this is non-restrictive and we put commas around it. Now here, I have 3 daughters.
Alex is a weird name.
Alexandra is her name. Here, because I'm just saying my daughter, you don't know which one I'm talking about. I could be talking about any one of them. So because you need this name in the sentence to know who I'm talking about, which daughter, that's restrictive. It has to be there so you know which one. So you do not put commas around it. It's restrictive to the sentence. It has to be there. Okay?
Tommy's dead.
Okay. So the appositive is set, and so the same thing in this sentence. Louisa May Alcott, a 19th century writer, produced many novels. The appositive is set off by commas because it is non-restrictive, which means the appositive is not crucial to understanding the sentence. In the second sentence below, the noun Little Women is an appositive that explains the noun novel. Here the appositive is not set off by commas because it is restrictive. The appositive is necessary in order to know which novel is meant. Her most popular work is the novel Little Women. So she wrote many different novels, so in order to know which one, you have to have that title Little Women, or you don't know which one. Okay? So that is restrictive, just like this one. So this is restrictive. You have to have it there. This is non-restrictive. You do not need it there. Okay? Okay. Let's continue on page 10. So in the first, okay, let's just go to the exercises. Does anybody have any questions? about restrictive, non-restrictive, appositives, positive phrases. Yes, no? No? Okay. So let's look at exercise 1. Identify the appositive in each phrase and then tell the noun that it explains. Okay? So, number 1. We have any volunteers? Sierra.
The positive is writer and the noun it explains is Louisa May Alcott.
Okay, can you read the sentence?
Louisa May Alcott, a famous American writer, was born in Germantown, Pennsylvania in 1832.
Okay, so yep, she said writer is the appositive and it is explaining Louisa May Alcott. Okay, number 2. Let's go with Callie, number 2.
She's famous for using Concord, and Boston, town.
So what is town? The appositive is the noun it's explaining. Okay, number 3, Nathan. Alcott. What's the appositive? No? No? So, an appositive renames or gives you more information. It helps identify the noun right in front of it. So it would be like 2 nouns right together almost, or a noun with a phrase behind it that identifies it. Okay, so which one identifies the word in front of it? You're right, those are the words that you're using, but which one's the appositive? No? So Bronson Alcott identifies the teacher. So Bronson Alcott is the appositive, it's explaining the teacher. Okay, number 4, Lucas. So you slow it, when you guys don't pay attention, you slow it down for everybody else, right? So if you paid attention, then we could keep moving. So go ahead, read it. Yep. 11. Let's go on to Marisol. Marisol, can you do number 4?
Louisa, a good student, was educated at home. Louisa's the positive.
Well, Louisa can't be the appositive. It's the first word in the sentence. So remember, an appositive follows the noun that it's identifying. Comes right after the noun it's identifying.
Student?
Yeah, so student is the appositive. What is it explaining or identifying? Louisa. Yep, good job. Okay, let's go on to exercise 2. You're supposed to identify the appositive and then decide whether it's restrictive or non-restrictive. So if it's restrictive, it has to be in the sentence, doesn't have commas, and if it's non-restrictive, it doesn't need to be in the sentence and you put commas. The only thing is the commas are not here in this exercise, so you can't just look to see if it has commas. So number 1, Bethel.
The marches, the characters in Little Women are based on Louisa May Alcott's family. Marchers is the subject, and characters in Little Women describe marchers.
Yeah, so what do you call that?
appositive.
The appositive,
phrase.
so the characters in Little Women is the appositive phrase. It identifies the marches. And is it restrictive or non-restrictive, do you think? Do you think you need that to understand the sentence or you don't?
No.
No, so
Yeah.
would that be restrictive or non-restrictive?
Non-restrictive.
Non-restrictive, so would you need commas?
No.
If it's non-restrictive, do you have commas?
It's 20 now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you do need commas, so you would put commas where?
After the marches.
After marches
And after Little Woman.
and after Little Women, perfect, yeah. So you guys, another way that I like to describe an appositive is by saying it's kind of like an interruption in the sentence. Like you're saying your main sentence and you kind of like interrupt it to give you information, you know, like so someone knows more about it, what you're talking about. So the marches, and then I like kind of throw in there, oh, those are the characters in Little Women, so that you know what I'm talking about. That's an appositive. So when you kind of hear that hesitation, that's the appositive. All right, number 2, Ariam.
The character Joe was based on Louisa herself. Joe, and it's restricted. Wait. Well,
Joe, is that the appositive?
yeah.
Yep, it is. And who is it identifying? What is it identifying?
It's identifying the character.
Character.
Yeah.
And is it restrictive or non-restrictive?
Well, I mean, you don't need to know what Joe's name is.
Do you know which character they're talking about if you don't have the name Joe?
Yeah, it's, wait, yeah, well, yeah, you do need to know.
So you do need it there because you don't know which character they're talking about is supposed to be, is actually based on Louisa. So you need the name there, so would that be restrictive or non-restrictive?
Restricted.
Restrictive, do you need commas?
No.
No commas. Okay? Number 3, Brayden.
The novel A Tale of the Trials and Hardships of 4 Sisters follows them as they grow up. The appositive is Tale of the Trials and Hardships,
Perfect.
and it's non-restrictive because it needs commas.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, number 4, Sam.
The novel takes place during the Civil War, the conflict between the North and the South. The commas should go.
Well, what's the appositive or a positive phrase?
The conflict between the North and South.
Yep, that's the appositive phrase, the conflict between the North and the South. What's it identifying?
Civil War.
Yep, so do you need commas? Is it restrictive or non-restrictive?
Non-restrictive.
Non-restrictive because they're naming the Civil War. And then they're just giving you more information about it. So it's non-restrictive, so you do need commas. Where would it go? Before the word the and after the Civil War. Okay, very good. Number 5, Sierra.
The book is an early example of realistic fiction for children, supports family values. The subject is book. The appositive is, well, the positive phrase is an early example of realistic fiction for children.
Perfect.
And
Is it restrictive or non-restrictive, do you think?
non-restrictive.
Non-restrictive. So does it need commas or not?
No.
Non-restrictive
it needs-
needs commas. Where did they go?
After the book and before and then after children.
Yep, very good. Who has questions? Okay, homework is practice book page 9. Practice book page 9 is homework.